If you look at how we define luxury today, it's it almost universally revolves around this idea of absolute sterile control.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, think about the spaces we aspire to inhabit. Private jets with their hyper-filtered air,
Mhm.
perfectly climate-controlled VIP lounges, or, smart homes where the lights and the temperature actually anticipate your arrival before you even park.
Right, we've engineered all the unpredictability out of it.
Exactly. All the messiness and the friction of the natural world is entirely out of the picture.
Yeah.
We essentially equate comfort with a complete lack of vulnerability.
Which is, I mean, it's a very modern psychological armor. We construct these pristine environments because the unpredictable nature of the world outside is inherently threatening. Total predictability is basically the ultimate status symbol.
But in this really fascinating literary text we're looking at today called The Forest Manor, we watch two characters violently crash that sterile modern luxury into something ancient and wild, and incredibly demanding.
It's a fantastic read.
It really is. So welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tracking this couple, Toivo and Elisa, and what initially looks like a pretty standard romance trope rapidly morphs into this profound psychological and mystical transition.
Yeah, the text uses a heavy, almost overwhelming barrage of sensory imagery to dismantle that illusion of material control.
So our mission for this deep dive is to put on our literary analyst hats and track this journey, because the central tension here is this tug-of-war between manufactured environments and authentic spiritual surrender.
To really understand the transition these characters go through, you have to look closely at how the author deliberately pits high-tech conveniences against raw, elemental forces. It's honestly a masterclass in using environment to manipulate the reader's sense of reality.
Well, let's jump right into how that tension is established, because the opening sequence sets up this dichotomy perfectly. We meet Toivo and Elisa on what the text calls the Terrace of the Black Cup, shaped like a blue lily.
Right away, you have that intersection of organic shapes and constructed architecture.
Exactly. But the real friction starts when Toivo's uncle, Jack Redwood, rolls up to the cafe driving a shiny red limousine. The automatic doors slide open and the couple steps inside.
And this interior is the absolute pinnacle of manufactured control.
It really is. You have a pristine white table, rare red wine chilling on ice, and, this is my favorite part, a blue LED candle.
That LED candle is doing so much heavy lifting, symbolically speaking.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, think about the history of human wealth, right? Controlling fire was our first true luxury. A real flame provides warmth, but it also consumes oxygen. It flickers unpredictably, and there's the inherent danger of burning your shelter down.
Right, fire's dangerous.
Exactly. So by replacing a real flame with a battery-powered blue LED, you get the aesthetic of fire with absolutely zero risk. It's a simulation. It provides this sterile blue light that demands absolutely nothing from the environment.
Wow, so it's the illusion of warmth without any vulnerability. And Toivo really leans into this ultra-wealthy persona here. He pours the expensive wine, calls her Madame my angel, and they just glide away down this forest road.
But then the author deliberately shatters that simulation.
Yeah, Toivo suddenly has his uncle stop the limo. The automatic doors slide open again, and they step out of this climate-controlled bubble straight into a moonlight-bathed meadow. The contrast is staggering.
They literally go from an LED candle to a shooting star flying over their heads.
It's like stepping out of an exclusive VIP club straight into Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. But why? Like, why this deliberate blending of high-tech luxury and untouched nature so early on?
Because the author is stripping away the technological buffers layer by layer. The sterile interior of the limo is undeniably luxurious, sure, but the text is making an argument that true transcendence cannot happen inside a manufactured simulation.
So stepping into the grass is the catalyst.
Right. When they step into the wet grass, the sensory inputs change from predictable to chaotic. The air isn't climate-controlled anymore. They're running and kissing under this vast, starry sky.
And the imagery here is overwhelmingly organic. I mean, the meadow is packed with white pansies and blue forest flowers, all shining under the moonlight. And Toivo finds a real, picked blue lily among the pansies and places it behind Elisa's ear.
Replacing the architectural blue lily of the cafe terrace with an actual living flower.
Yeah, exactly. But as a reader, you kind of have to wonder about the suddenness of this transition. It feels like the author forces us to sit in the sterile luxury of the limo just to immediately dump us into a feral, romantic meadow.
Well, that is the function of the baseline. The luxury isn't framed as inherently evil, but it is framed as insufficient. It's a mode of transportation, not a destination.
Okay, that makes sense.
By establishing the LED candle and the automatic doors first, the author ensures that when we hit the shooting star and the wet grass, the natural world feels overwhelmingly potent. It foreshadows the ultimate trajectory of the narrative.
Moving from the artificial wealth of the modern world towards something entirely authentic.
Exactly.
But hang on, because if the goal is a return to authentic nature, which that meadow sequence just established perfectly, why the massive tonal left turn that happens next?
The arrival at the manor.
Yeah, they get back in the limo, drive to a seashore sparkling with starlight, and pull up to this massive old wooden manor. And suddenly, we are plunged into a deeply intimidating Victorian Gothic atmosphere.
It's quite the shift.
Right. Like, wait, we just had wine and shooting stars. If enlightenment happens in the wild, why drag them into an old, stuffy, hyper-constructed mansion? Feels like we are going backward into a scary thunderstorm.
It definitely seems counterintuitive at first glance. But let's look at the psychological function of the Gothic sublime. The meadow was authentic, yes, but it was also comfortable and deeply romantic.
Very romantic.
But true spiritual transitions in literature almost never occur in spaces of pure comfort. They require a crucible. The meadow lowers their defenses, but the Gothic manor acts as a heavy, moral testing ground.
So it's designed to make the individual feel incredibly small.
Exactly.
And it definitely accomplishes that.
Yeah.
Just look at the architectural details we're hit with. Lanterns illuminating these massive double doors carved with biblical cherubs. A golden door knocker shaped like a lion's paw.
And then they go inside.
Yeah, when they cross the threshold, the hallway is vast. It's dominated by a huge golden chandelier and heavy stairs covered in black-green fabric. It is suffocatingly dense compared to the open sky they just left.
Notice how the materials have shifted, too. We went from transient things like petals and starlight to permanent, oppressive materials. Heavy wood, dense metals, thick fabrics.
The architecture of consequence.
That's a great way to put it. When you walk into a massive, echoing cathedral, you instinctively lower your voice. Your posture changes. The author is using these heavy sensory details to force Elisa and you, the listener, into a state of deep reverence.
Which brings us to the most jarring moment in the hallway. Standing on either side of those black-green stairs are two knight armors, one white, one black.
Classic symbolism there.
Oh, heavily. And as Elisa looks into a huge Victorian mirror on the wall, a thunderstorm suddenly erupts outside. Lightning strikes, flashing directly in the mirror, and it completely startles her.
It's a very intense moment.
I have to admit, the horror movie timing of the lightning flash right as she looks in the mirror felt almost unnecessarily aggressive. Why throw spooky armor and jump scares into the mix?
It's aggressive because it's meant to induce a sort of ego death. Think about what a mirror does. It reflects the self.
Right.
In the limousine, her reflection would have been framed by soft, predictable LED light and expensive wine. Here, surrounded by the white and black knights, which represent moral absolutes, the stark reality of good and evil, she sees her reflection illuminated by a violent, uncontrollable flash of lightning.
Oh, wow. So it's a shocking realization of vulnerability. The storm is literally stripping away her modern armor.
Precisely. She is being forced to see herself not as a pampered VIP, but as a fragile soul standing between right and wrong.
And Toivo's reaction here is crucial, I think, because he doesn't panic at the thunder. He just holds her and says, "Don't worry."
Right, he shifts roles entirely.
Yeah, he's no longer playing the wealthy benefactor pouring wine. He's acting as a guide, leading her through a necessary trial. A spiritual gauntlet.
He is anchoring her as the environment becomes increasingly hostile to her modern sensibilities. They have to pass through this space of intense moral weight before they can reach the inner sanctuary.
The Gothic manor is basically the toll booth on the road to transcendence.
That's exactly what it is.
Which brings them up the stairs to a very specific locked door. And this is where the narrative symbolism just becomes razor sharp. The door itself is wood-patterned and decorated with flowers.
Which feels like a deliberate architectural bridge, right?
Yeah.
Connecting the wild nature of the meadow to the heavy interior of the manor.
Totally. And then Toivo pulls out a key to open it. But the text specifically notes that the key is shaped like the number 7. Now, I feel like in any other story, that might just be a quirky detail.
But not here.
But given the heavy-handed biblical cherubs on the front door, it feels like a neon sign pointing to divine completion. Should we be reading into its classic literary associations?
Oh, your instinct is dead on. You absolutely should. In nearly every mystical and literary tradition, the number 7 is the ultimate symbol of spiritual perfection and the completion of a cycle.
Like the 7 days of creation.
Exactly, or the 7 virtues. By turning a key shaped like a 7, Toivo isn't just unlocking a bedroom. He is initiating the final phase of their spiritual evolution. The journey from the artificial to the authentic is reaching its perfect completion.
So he turns the 7 key, the door clicks, and inside is this incredibly dramatic space dominated by a huge bed covered in red silk curtains. But the focal point is a patterned wooden chest sitting right in front of the bed.
And that chest requires that exact same number 7 key to be opened.
Right, so he hands the key to Elisa, she turns it, and inside is a silver necklace holding a massive emerald. And the language the author uses here completely caught me off guard.
It's beautiful phrasing.
It really is. The text describes the gem not as a cold, expensive rock, but like a green, living river of the jungle. It's so sensory.
That phrasing is a phenomenal piece of literary alchemy. Think about what an emerald actually is. It's a dead, compressed mineral. It takes millions of years of geological pressure to form.
And in the modern world, it just represents hoarded, static wealth.
Right, but the author strips away its financial value entirely. By describing it as a living river of the jungle, the text assigns organic, flowing vitality to a static object.
It's a complete inversion of how we usually view luxury goods. Toivo tells her that her eyes are deep and alive, just like the emerald. He actually calls the necklace the key to her secret Eden.
He's crowning her with the absolute pinnacle of earthly wealth, but framing it as a living entity. And green is universally the color of renewal, spring, and the natural world.
So she has a piece of Eden captured in a stone.
Exactly. In the context of the journey, she's been given a piece of captured nature. But having the symbol of life isn't the same as possessing actual life. It sets up the final, ultimate test. She has the key to Eden around her neck, but she still has to figure out how to use it.
And the mechanism for using it is completely wild, because they're standing there with this living emerald, and the modern world suddenly intrudes one last time. Toivo picks up a remote control from a table.
And presses a blue button.
Yeah, it's a highly mechanical, technological action right in the middle of this deeply mystical space. And the wall behind the bookshelf opens up to reveal a hidden room.
The juxtaposition there is startling. You have ancient talismans, the emerald, the number 7 key being activated by a blue plastic button.
And what's inside the hidden room is purely mystical. It's a shrine. There's a marble angel statue with shiny blue pearl eyes, holding its hands out pleadingly, as if begging for alms.
And the inscription on the wall is key here.
Yes, it reads, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it." And in the statue's outstretched hands, there is a blue sapphire on the left and a red ruby on the right.
With a space in the middle.
Right in the middle, an empty space, perfectly sized for an emerald.
This creates a classic triad of colors which has profound implications. You have the blue sapphire, which historically represents the celestial, the divine, the sky.
Okay.
You have the red ruby, representing the physical world, blood, humanity, and passion. The empty space in the middle is waiting for the bridge between the two.
So Toivo tells her, "Put the jewelry in the middle, my love. One must give up everything to gain eternal harmony." Now, I have to say, I have a major problem with this being framed as the ultimate sacrifice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, is she really giving up everything? He literally just handed her this necklace. She's had it around her neck for maybe 5 minutes. There is zero emotional sunken cost here.
That's a fair point.
Like, if someone hands me a $1 billion lottery ticket, and then later a guy in an alley asks for it and I hand it over, I haven't sacrificed my life's work. I'm just rejecting a sudden windfall. It feels a little cheap for a spiritual climax.
I see why you'd look at it that way from a practical standpoint, but let's re-examine the psychology of that lottery ticket analogy.
Okay, I'm listening.
In many ways, rejecting a sudden, unfathomable windfall requires a sharper, more violent exertion of willpower than giving away something you've grown accustomed to. When you acquire sudden wealth, the ego instantly projects 1,000 different futures. I am rich now. I am safe now.
I see.
Giving up the emerald isn't about the timeline of ownership. It's about the willingness to surrender. It's the instantaneous rejection of the ego's ultimate safety net.
So the test isn't about giving up something she loves. It's about refusing to let the material wealth take root in her psyche in the first place.
Precisely. Remember where they started, the red limousine,
Yeah.
the climate-controlled perfection. The emerald represents the absolute peak of that material hierarchy. If she keeps it, she remains tethered to the world of static, hoarded wealth. By offering the living emerald to the stone angel, the stranger asking for alms, she embodies the biblical quote on the wall.
She bridges the divine blue sapphire and the physical red ruby with the green living emerald.
She chooses spiritual harmony over material possession.
And the response to that choice is immediate and entirely supernatural. She presses the stone into the marble hands, and the text says, singing is heard from angels. They are literally chanting, Eden, 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 your hiding place, your secret garden.
The veil between the physical and the spiritual is completely torn down.
It really is. And this is where the sensory journey resolves. The heavy, oppressive atmosphere of the Gothic manor breaks open.
But it breaks open in the most bizarre, fascinating way.
It really does. Because as the invisible angels are singing, the industrial mechanics of the room activate again. The marble statue suddenly rises into an opening in the ceiling, carried by literal metal rails.
The rails retreat upwards with it, disappearing from sight.
The text explicitly forces us to watch a divine angel being lifted out of the way by an elevator mechanism. And what is revealed behind the statue is the secret Eden.
A completely isolated inner sanctuary. They've moved entirely out of the artificial world.
It's stunning. A sparkling fountain made of blue marble with carved fish, entirely surrounded by purple-red tulips and roses. The water from the fountain splashes up, and the drops gently wet and refresh Elisa's face.
And then Toivo kisses them away.
Yes, she breathes his name, Toivo, and he kisses the water drops from her face, holding her like a flower in his arms. It's just a beautiful, full-circle moment.
The symmetry of that final image is deeply satisfying. The narrative began with Toivo handing her a literal picked blue lily in a meadow. He gave her a piece of nature.
But after the crucible of the Gothic manor,
Right. After she proves her willingness to surrender the highest material wealth, the dynamic changes. He doesn't just hand her a flower anymore. He holds her as a flower. She's been fully integrated into the garden.
it's a beautiful synthesis. The journey from the red limo to this hidden fountain argues that true luxury isn't the rare wine, it isn't the automatic doors, and it certainly isn't the emerald necklace.
True luxury is the discovery of this hidden inner Eden achieved through love and surrender.
It demands that the reader evaluate their own environment honestly. We spend an enormous amount of energy building our own sterile limousines. We curate our lives with smart home controls, seeking absolute predictability.
But this narrative suggests that holding too tightly to that control robs us of transcendence. To reach the secret garden, you have to be willing to step out of the climate control, face the terrifying lightning in the mirror, and surrender the very things you think are keeping you safe.
It is an absolutely phenomenal piece of psychological architecture. Short narrative, but packed with so much sensory detail and heavy literary symbolism. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final, deeply provocative contradiction to chew on.
Oh, there's definitely a big one lingering.
Something we've been circling this entire time. This text blends deep mysticism, angels singing, magical gardens, living emeralds with very deliberate, undeniable modern mechanics. Toivo uses a blue button on a remote control to open a hidden wall.
The angel statue lifts into the ceiling on industrial rails.
Right. The limo operates on automatic doors. So the machinery is essentially the scaffolding for the magic.
Yeah.
And that raises a massive question for you to mull over. Was this secret Eden a literal supernatural miracle that they crossed into? Or did Toivo, utilizing his immense wealth and the resources of Uncle Jack Redwood, engineer this entire elaborate mechanical theater purely to give Elisa an unforgettable, transcendent experience of love?
It changes everything if you look at it that way.
It really does. Consider the implications of that. If he built the fountain, wired the remote control, and installed the rails, does that make the spiritual experience any less real? Is the magic found in the literal reality of invisible singing angels? Or is the deepest magic found in a partner who would construct an entire hidden world running on industrial rails just to show you what eternal harmony feels like? Let that tension linger the next time you step into your own perfectly controlled environment.